We're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. I'm Drew Brown. We're here to inspire, entertain, and learn so we can all grow. Happiness and serenity are the keys. To you, my friend, my wingman, my main man, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Paul Thompson. Hey, Paul.
Good morning, Mr. Drew. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard from the one and only Drew Brown, Dark Gable, the American dream. He's the man, the myth, the legend. He's the pilot's pilot, the role model's role model, and most importantly, his royal fullness. Thank you for listening to the podcast, looking at the podcast. And if you could, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. We would appreciate it. I'm doing very good this morning, Mr. Drew. How are you?
I'm doing great. You ready to start this show?
I'm ready.
All right, we'll check this out. Hey, Paul, remember my father's documentary, Bundini?
Yeah, I do.
Right. And for anybody who doesn't know, Bundini, who was my dad, trained Muhammad Ali through his whole career. So anyway, the update is not good. The people who were going to do the documentary saw a little 20-minute documentary that was done before we got into the deal. And they said it might be hard to sell during the time that this little documentary was being put out there, because it was like in a couple of film festivals, which I thought was perfect for the big documentary. You know, I'm looking for epic. I'm looking for Oscar. I'm not looking for a 20-minute documentary. So that didn't scare me. But that's the update on the documentary. So I'm going to put it in Shorty's hands, and whatever will be, will be. If I don't do the movie or the big documentary, maybe my kids will, or maybe Angel will. So my granddaughter. So anyway, that's the update. Now, how about this? Last show, we also talked about these Bezos and Branson, these billionaires who are going into space, and it sounds like men measuring their you-know-what. It's like they pulled out their rollers because one went 65 feet higher. So that's what billionaires are doing, Paul. You watched it. What do you think about it?
I thought it was interesting. I watched the whole Virgin Galactic thing. Who went higher? That's interesting. You talk about measurement. Well, they're kind of right in a way. Who went higher? What difference does it make? Now, this is an argument amongst billionaires. Who went into outer space and who really didn't? Maybe Bezos did. I think they both did. But have you ever heard of something called the Kármán line? Karman?
No, I believe that's when you got your doctorate in that year. I did not learn that.
No, okay. All right. The Kármán line is a point in the atmosphere that's about 62 miles up above the Earth. Technically, that's where a conventional airplane or aeronautical machine, whatever you want to call it, where there's not enough air for the flight control surfaces to work. That's a point where an airplane stops being an airplane, technically. So you need external rocket power to move through the sky. There's no aerodynamics because there's no aero.
Wow, that's deep, Paul. You're getting deep.
Okay, all right, yeah. There's no quiz on this. Okay, now that's a newer definition. In the older days, in the 60s, there was something called the mesopause. The mesopause was about 50 miles above the Earth. And that is the point where meteorites typically burn up. So that used to be the point of outer space. So during the Mercury astronaut days, or even before that, when the Air Force is putting stuff up, technically you're an astronaut if you went above 50 miles. So if you say now that astronauts, you got to be 62 miles, some of the earliest astronauts technically would have to get their astronaut wings pulled. So I think, yeah, I mean, that's
by the great Ayatollah, probably.
Well, by the Ayatollah, yeah, without, blood and all. So,
well, we talk about billionaires all the time, Paul.
Yeah.
And how they always are billionaires. Okay, both of us have money. I'm going to be right out there with you. And this show is not about just problems. I don't like people who call themselves leaders, who tell you why you didn't make it, how you didn't make it, and who to blame. So you know what? I'm gonna just let it out how I made money. First of all, I saw both of my parents, who were the greatest people I ever known. I seen them both physically pass away with nothing, with nothing. And their last days were not great because of a financial situation. I was in the Navy. I truly couldn't help. And one thing I learned from them is don't be like me when I'm doing bad. And so one thing I wasn't going to do was be like that. So I learned from that. My daddy did say that you've never seen a Wells Fargo truck at a funeral, though.
Sure.
And that's a true statement. So just to go off base a little bit, whatever money I have, honest to God, my dad also said that he's going to die with a dime in his pocket so somebody could call and pick up the body. Now, obviously, back then, you could put a dime in a payphone. So right now, I mean, my children are probably wealthier than I am. Right now, I'm going to spend everything. I'm going to die with a cell phone on my body so somebody can call and pick up the body. Unless Katrina is still here, and then we'll take care of Katrina. But anyway, getting back to how I made money, I used to ride the trains in New York, the subways, and you and I talked about this. And I always noticed the wealthier people, because you said this, you could have bums and billionaires on the subway together.
Yes.
But there was a certain type of man, and he was a white guy, who folded this newspaper up in a certain way that was so cool. And he used to pop it to do it. And they were like in little squares. And they had numbers on there. And I couldn't see the numbers. And I had no idea what they were doing. And I became very interested in that. And they were looking at the stock market. So the reason I have money is because, number one, when I joined the United States Navy, somebody told me put 10% of your pay away like you never, ever earned it. And every time you get a raise, you continue to make that higher and higher and higher. And it's like you haven't gotten that money. That's number one. Number two, I learned the stock market. Okay, I've made money on Apple. I think I bought Apple when it was $30-something a share.
Okay, so you were like Forrest Gump in the movie where he invested in a fruit company called Apple.
No, I was a black man who studied marketing, and I was a man who studied the Wall Street Journal, and I was a man who wasn't going to be broke for real. I mean, this is really how I did it. You know, I have bling too. You see all my bling? And that's what this shirt was, bling. I don't wear it anymore. I don't wear my jewelry anymore. We did a flight to India, and I had my Rolex on, my presidential Rolex, and I was looking out the window to people who were begging and didn't have a pot to piss in, and I had a goddamn gold watch with diamonds on, and it didn't make sense, and I haven't worn it since. I mean, you know, maybe a special occasion, but that's beside the point. The point is I studied how to make money, and I continue to do it, and I watched my stocks. That's how you make money. You have to learn. And right now, I'm sitting pretty. I don't want, and I'm going to say this, I don't want 40 acres and a mule. I went and got 20 acres in a Rolls Royce. Paul, tell them how you made your millions.
Well, I don't really, can't say I have millions, but I'm not starving. And, you know, pretty much I kind of live fairly simply. Don't have a lot of toys, don't need a lot of toys.
How'd you do it?
The same thing you did, consistency. You know, I didn't buy a lot of stuff. I just put stuff away. I put stuff away, little bit, accumulated. You know, I was in the Navy. I wasn't making any big money at all. In fact, I had a summer job when I was a college student that paid me like 3 times as much as what I made the first 2 years in the Navy till I became a lieutenant. You just didn't make that much. So it's money, it's attitude. And I was young at that time, and I wasn't doing anything. I was just spending it and just trying to pay my car note and my insurance. Right. But when I got a family and stuff like that, I had to think a little bit differently. It wasn't just me. I was the only one really working, and I started stuff when my kids were small, so they'd have like a little something. So no one's really has ever had a time when they were desperately searching for a meal. Nobody's really hungry. And it's still now I'm not ostentatious. As I've gotten older, I want less stuff, not more. Yeah, I mean, how many cars can you drive at the same time? I got 27 Rolls Royces and 50 jets. How many can you fly at the same time? How much is enough? And I feel pretty good.
I'm getting wealthier by the minute because I really, truly don't want anything else. I'm very, very satisfied, actually. And I thank God every day. I am so grateful. But I will say this, both of us, it started off with getting a college education. Yes. No doubt about that. That's the beginning. So you can't skip to all those other things I'm talking about. It's not just a college education. You have to have purpose. And if you do something well, you'll make money doing it. It's what you do with that money. How many people, Paul, have we seen with millions and millions that are broke now because they had no idea what to do? They got $1 million and bought a $200,000 watch. Okay. Doesn't make sense. Right. Doesn't make common sense. For $2 million, you put it in the stock market, you probably could make $150,000 a year for life.
Right. And you take that part, what you just said, and you buy that bling that you have around your neck. You don't just buy the bling. That's not an investment. That's a toy. There's a difference between investments and toys. Get your toys. Make your investment. Pay for your toys.
That's right. Well, let's jump to this vaccine. This is freaking me out now because these idiots are now causing us to start wearing masks. See, their inability to think correctly has now affected us. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it as nicely as I can. When people say you can't make me do anything, that's a lie because you can't smoke in restaurants anymore. You can't hardly smoke anywhere anymore. And they made that a law. And nobody walked around with cigarettes going in a restaurant saying, I'm free, I can do what I want. This is a health hazard. And people who are dying are not vaccinated. How much clearer can we get, Paul?
Well, the COVID, the Delta variant, apparently it's everywhere. And rates are skyrocketing everywhere. Poor countries, rich countries. In the U.S., again, I say you've got this oppositional thing. And they made the COVID a political deal, which is really a manipulation of ignorant people. It's a manipulation of ignorance with consequences that hurt everybody. I got my shots. I have my mask. I don't like. In fact, I got 50 new masks came a couple days ago. I don't like any of them, but I'm going to wear them. I'm going to wear them when I'm close to other people. When I'm outside, no, I don't have it, and I got my shots. But I'm not crazy. When I go into a store, I put it on. I don't like doing it, but I'll do it. A lot of stuff I don't like doing it. Hopefully it's not forever. But it looks like a lot of folks got to do it. I think in California and some other places, maybe the red state. I don't know if this is red state, blue state nonsense. You either get sense or you don't. If you're oppositional all the time, you're going to oppose everything. If you want to have a death wish, don't do it. The basketball player, Derrick Rose, plays for the Knicks. A very, an elite athlete. He got COVID. He said it was nothing like he'd ever experienced before. He was on his butt.
I mean, a lot of people are dying right now.
A few months ago, yeah.
And this is a Delta variant that has different symptoms, they say, than the original. And if the COVID-19 continues, it then will split again into another variant that we don't know. And soon it's going to get into a variant where the vaccinations don't work again. And we're going right back into the circle.
Right.
So that whole smoking thing, I know they can make rules of that. But how about this? Look what it has affected. How about the Olympics, Paul? First of all, they're saying the 2020 Olympics and 2021. I don't understand that at all, but let it be. But the Olympics, it has really, could you imagine the finest moment in your life and going into a hotel and you can't get out of the hotel? They say you can walk around for 15 minutes a day outside. the Olympic Village used to be the coolest thing an Olympic athlete could do. The coolest thing. They meet athletes from all over the world. And now they're all secluded into their hotel rooms and people are dropping like flies.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of rough when you said they can go out for 15 minutes. That sounds like the exercise yard of the prison. That's unfortunate. And then they got to perform in front of like nobody. I guess they're in their bubble, like the NBA bubble. That kind of worked out last year. This is a tough time. And then a bunch of them are testing positive for COVID-19 now inside the bubble.
Incredible.
I'll watch some of it, but I feel sorry for them.
Yeah, it's a shame, but hopefully people will wake up. If you have not gotten your vaccine, I'm asking you to please get one. And if it's not for me and Dr. Paul, it's for your family and for your fellow human beings. So sports, Olympics. How about this brother, Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Oh, you pronounced the name well.
You saw how good I said it?
Yeah, say it again.
When he first came in, I just called him Giannis because I didn't want to really learn that name. And now I can say it perfectly. That boy is super bad. I will predict this. If he ever learns to shoot the three, and he shot very good foul shots, he's the next LeBron.
Yeah. I think that's been happening. It's been coming the last couple of years. I mean, his performance in Game 6 was for the record books. He's up there with everybody. I can't criticize him. It would be nice if Chris Paul had gotten in his ring. I agree, but that was a better team.
He's such a nice guy when he's interviewed. He's humble. He's so good. He has his brothers on the team. Yeah, I think 2 other brothers are in the NBA. It's one of those things. Yeah, if you want me, you got to take him.
Yeah, okay, those are the older brothers. They're older brothers. He's the youngest, right. I think, of the 3. Yeah.
And I'm not putting them down. I don't know if I'm sure they can play. If you're in the NBA, first of all, this is the truth. When they're hitting 3-pointers and you're going, damn, that's good. Damn, that's good. These are professionals. They shoot 1,000 shots a day sometimes. They are really, really good. They are really good. And from the basketball, I was a Globetrotter for one day.
One day with Meadowlark Lemon and Curly Neal and the whole crew.
Right. I made the team, and the next day I got cut because Muhammad Ali called and kept asking about me, and they felt a little threatened. Whatever. I really thought that Shorty made a bad move that time, but it was the greatest move again in my life because one of my friends went with them, and when they say Harlem Globetrotters in Rome, well, they don't get to see Rome. They're playing 3 games, and then the next day they're playing 3 games somewhere else. So it's a very, very hard life. And if you notice, there's no famous Globetrotters anymore because I think there's 3 teams now. They can go all over the country. All you need is black guys with stripes that can play ball and can do tricks.
How many of the Harlem Globetrotters have ever been from Harlem?
Aside from me, I have no idea.
Yeah. I think
How about the Generals? How about who they play?
The New Jersey Generals.
Beat every night. Where's your self-esteem?
Right.
Anyway, the reason I told you I was a Globetrotter for one day is because I love basketball. I went to college. I got a scholarship. I was the captain at Southern University of New Orleans. So I played basketball. Well, I just built the guest house. As you know, you and I have been talking about it. And the guest house has a cement slab that is now going to be a half court, NBA style. And I actually went and got the biggest backboard they make. The actual, I think it's 7x5 NBA backboard. So it's going to be a professional board. And then I went to this company called VersaCourt, and I'm going to have that beautiful, I'll show some pictures if you're watching it on YouTube. I'm going to have that beautiful tile down. Now, most companies, to be honest with you, the ones I was checking out were asking for 15 grand, but they were also saying, yeah, this is the court Michael Jordan has. This is that. This company, the funny thing is you got to do it yourself. So they actually paint all the tiles. They give you instructions. And so I'm asking you on the air, will you come over and help me? Because we got to put the tiles in place. But anyway, VersaCourt, and I'll let everybody know. And I said that for a reason, because Paul and I, one day, hopefully, have sponsors. And if we do sponsor something, I give you my word. I won't ever tell you about anything that I don't approve of or doesn't work.
Well, that's good. That's good. And we'll have to try to put some information on that and on our new website. wingmenshow.com. Now we have a website. It's up. WINGMENSHOW.com. It's up. Take a look at it. You can look at all the episodes there and everything else we put out. We'll have a newsletter. We'll have good information, different things, easy to look at. Wingmenshow.com.
Great, Paul. How about when we first saw it? I said two words a lot of times, and one of them was holy. That's how good it looked.
Yeah.
We are very excited about that website. And we actually have a link on there that if you want to get an education, a GED, or you want to get your doctorate, or you want to just learn things, we have a link on there for different courses in different places that have education. You want to talk about that just for a second, Paul?
Yeah, that's everything that goes by links now. And we'll try to update that information and give you the most recent stuff, the most relevant things to help you get a good start. There's a lot of junk out there. There's a lot of good stuff too. Some of it's expensive and some of it's not expensive at all. Some of it's really, really, really cheap and effective. So the goal is to do something to help people, to uplift them. A lot of shows you'll look at and they complain and I don't like this, I don't like that. And the host is a curmudgeon and good at insulting people and their likes and their dislikes and don't call my show. And I can't listen to stuff like that. I want something that's going to help and be assistant. A few put downs and jokes now and then are okay, but not all the time or, the guy, or the lady, they look like they just need to go have a good bowel movement or something. That's nobody wants to see that. They like to see like your dog and things like that. Other pleasant deals, not all this hate. So we try to put out good, useful information. And if you want the hate, go somewhere else. There's plenty of it.
Yeah, we're about hope. And first of all those links to education, there is something that you have to do with it, and that's work hard at it. No matter, you can get any link you want. You actually have to study, you have to read, you have to spend some time. And all these things that we talk about are very possible because we did it, And I'd rather not tell you what to do. I'd rather tell you things that I did. I flunked out of college my first year, Paul, but I loved college so much. I just went back to a community college, brought in my high school transcripts and did it again. It doesn't matter. I love college. And that's another thing. If you're young and you're thinking about going to college or not going, if you were my children, you wouldn't have that choice. Mm-hmm. I think giving a child a choice to further their education at the dumbest year in their life, which is 16, 17, 18 dumbest years, is the craziest thing I ever heard of. And they, what kind of people that breeds? The kind of people that storm the Capitol, our capital of the United States, storm it, break in, people were killed, people were hurt, and he got 8 months, the first sentence. And I will tell you this, there are children from the ghettos and children from low income, no matter black, brown, white, yellow, I don't care what color. Their lives have been ruined because they sold marijuana. Their lives have been ruined because they were getting 5 and 10 years for selling weed. And this guy storms the Capitol and gets 8 months. Well, if you ever didn't understand what systemic racism is, there's your example. I'm going to tell Webster to put that picture of that dude, 8 months, storm Capitol under what is systemic racism.
8 months. Yeah, I was surprised to see that. I think they were going for 18 months, but there's just a disparity in sentencing for a lot of things. Depends on who you know. And sometimes the government makes deals. I won't mention the name, but there was a very famous mafia hitman that killed 19 people. Never did a day in jail. Well, actually did days in jail, but not for that. He had information that they wanted. They took the information. He was free, but he went to jail for other things. He got too happy and got back to his old habits. 8 months, there people go out of aircraft carriers for that length of time or longer. I wouldn't want to go to jail for 8 minutes, but the fact that you can do something and not spend years and years and years in prison is tremendous. I think that's going to be the average. I think most of those folks will basically get a slap on the wrist, maybe slap on both wrists. That's going to be about the extent of it. Because
Well, I think their prison comes every day of their lives, the way these people look and the way they live. I think they live in prison. They're broke, they're poor, they're uneducated, and I feel sorry for them. And you know why? Because they don't know about our book club, the Dr. Paul or the Wingman Show's book club. And this show, the book is called The Way to Love by Anthony DeMello. It is a life changer. And like Paul said, it's a small book. It's not very large. It's not War and Peace.
don't get scared.
Don't get scared. I'm telling you, this is a life changer. It's just a different way to look at life. And if you're open-minded and you change, stop being so stringent, be honest, open-minded, and willing to change. That's when I started to make a change. When I kept realizing that I was not right all the time. Paul, do you want to ask me about my little scary airplane?
I was about to do that because last time you asked me about a scary time in an airplane. What kind of scary times you have in an airplane? What thing stands out in your mind in your aviation career that wasn't so great?
I was scared 183 times, enough to wet my pants almost, but I didn't do it every time I had a night landing. Let's get that straight from the beginning. I do make a statement that every time you do something and you do it more and more and more, you get better and you get better and you get better. That first one was scary as hell. And that last one, I think, was even scarier because I knew I wasn't going to make it anymore after this one. Mm-hmm. But my scariest moment, one moment, came on a night cat shot. An A6.
Now, what is it? What is a cat? What is a cat? I have a cat downstairs. Okay.
On the USS Nimitz, they have catapults.
Oh.
And these catapults from a nuclear carrier are no joke. The heavier you are, the harder you get hit. You go from 0 to 130 miles in 2.3 seconds. It's for real. Forget Disney World, okay? This is the real thing. Anyway, I was full of gas because I was the last night tanker.
You said you were full of gas? Okay, I just want to make sure you said it. I bet
fuel.
Fuel.
I was full of fuel. Because I go up there, because not only did we carry bombs, but we could carry big fuel tanks. And we could refuel in the air. So I was the last plane out. Mm-hmm. I'm on the catapult. I know it's going to be a big shot. I know it's going to be scary. I can't see a damn thing but flashlights. But there's a certain movement of that flashlight, and I give a salute, and they know, and boom!
You turn your lights on.
Here I go. Yeah. Paul, at the end of the cat shot, when I knew I was flying, I had a full electrical failure. A full electrical failure. Not only was it black outside, now it's black inside. It's so scary that you can't be scared. So I'm going to explain a couple things. The one thing I know, I come from Harlem, Jack, and I'm going to stay alive. My hand was on the stick at an angle that we were flying. I know that. My hand was on the throttle at full. And if I could have broke it, I probably would have. So I knew those two things for sure. I knew that for sure, that if I didn't move this hand, we would be flying. There is something called a RAT, a ram air turbine. And it sits next to, in the A6 Intruder, it's next to the pilot's seat, a little handle that you got to reach down and pull. And then a little propeller pops up and you get generated electricity. Okay? No communication, nothing. I know he was saying, when is this dude going to pull the RAT? I heard that when people pull the RAT, they push the stick down. And if you push the stick down where I was going to die. So I had to think about lights or life. And I picked life. Paul Thompson, we were at 10,000 feet when I pulled that damn RAT.
Right.
We climbed for a long time.
Well, that's. I'm glad you made it out, and it worked. You got some electrics back.
Yes, I got them. Yeah, no, I didn't get them all back. I got them back enough to dump my gas and come back and land.
Okay. Yeah, having something bad happen on a night cat shot is not good. I had that something similar once. Not everything, but the primary instruments failed. Right.
Go ahead. Tell us about it real quick, how you felt and what happened.
Oh, and it's funny you said that. In fact, it also involved being a tanker, because we could be a tanker too. And it was somewhere in the Indian Ocean. And there was
So you were full of gas?
Yeah, I was full of gas. Okay, I'll admit it. I was full of gas. Not as much as you, but plenty. Anyway, true. It was it was like at the end of the thing, and I'm sitting there watching a movie, and the call comes down and said we need a tanker in the air, and the A6 tankers were down. They're all down. I think we had one or two that were still up. And they said there was an S3 that was coming back from Diego Garcia, bringing in mail or supplies or something. We're in the Indian Ocean.
S3 is a submarine hunter.
It's a submarine hunter. Yeah. And they were doing something else, but they could carry some stuff. So we're in the middle of the ocean, nowhere, and they're coming back, and they're low on gas. Really low, apparently. They said they need someone to go out and meet them. And I was the only one sitting there that was in flight gear. Everyone else was changed. So I said, okay, you go, So, okay, fine. I got a quick brief, and the airplane was ready, jumped in, everything set to go. It was a nice night. It was a nice night. And got shot off the front end many times, pitch black. And right at the time, my primary navigation instrument, poof, just went away. It's gone. Everything else is working fine.
Right.
But in terms of navigation, gone. There is none. It's whatever I can remember. It's pitch black in the middle of the ocean. So I go, and the radio's working fine. I tell them about it, but they needed the gas. I said, well, they had them on radar. They were like 300 miles away. I said, well, we'll just head to each other and we'll meet. And
so you completed the mission?
I rendezvoused with them at radar control, and we saw each other, and they got their gas, and we headed back to the ship. And I asked them, okay, because they were going towards the ship anyway. So I stayed with them.
Can I follow you?
Yeah, they say, is this a good course? I don't know where I'm going. I say, yeah, because I was keeping it in my mind, writing down, okay, I'm flying this heading for such time. I had a rough idea where I was. But that ship is really, really tiny. It's really, really tiny, even in the daytime. So anyway, we got back, and I asked them for a favor. They said, thanks for helping us out. And I said, yeah, can you lead me back to the ship? I got nothing. and they set me up for a nice straight in. And that was,
you were, Paul? You know what you were? You were a good wingman. You were a good wingman there. Yeah. And then they became good wingmen to you.
Oh, yeah. They were happy to get that gas.
Yes, I think they might have. Oh, God. I know that feeling when you're running out of gas at night and you got to go get gas. That's another feeling that we'll talk about one day. But wingman, I want to tell you my wingman story. I have all these Great Danes. I've had up to 6 Great Danes at one time. And I feed my dogs raw chicken because that's what they used to eat. I give them a little bit of kibble, but I feed them raw chicken necks. Anyway, so I've always become friendly with the people at Food Depot, the meat department. The wingman that I want to talk about is a guy called George Williams, who's one of the finest guys I've ever known. And the reason we kind of clicked right away is he's wearing a Giants cap, Paul. He was wearing a New York Giants cap. And through the whole pandemic, that's all he had on was a Giants mask. So he had my heart from the beginning. But this guy works so hard, and he's the manager of the entire department back there. And I hope the people that he works for appreciate how hard he works. He's going to make it. He has made it. And he's just such a solid guy, and he loves our podcast. He's the one who told me that the only thing wrong with your podcast is that it's not longer. So that's kind of a compliment.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Well, George, thanks a lot. We may not make them longer, but we'll make plenty of them. And remember, you can always go to YouTube or your podcast platform or the wingmenshow.com, WINGMENSHOW.com. And you can look at the episodes again and again and again.
Thanks, Paul. Wingmenshow.com. Come visit us. I love you, Paul. Thanks for doing the show.
Thanks for having me on. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. We'd appreciate it.
100%. We hope you enjoyed our show. We truly thank you for your time. It's our most valuable commodity. So we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. Dr. Paul Thompson, Drew Brown, we both say goodbye. See you guys later.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.